Okay, just making sure that we are actually live. Oops. That. Yeah, looks pretty good. Okay. Gonna take a small break from Final Fantasy just for a bit, and I figure we'll go back to this, because I actually never finished it.
Empire of Japan. After opening its doors, a push for cultural transformation brought great waves of Western influence to this far eastern island nation. The revolution washed over the land, making life in the capital exciting and unsettling. It was a period of great change, and some was swept away by the tide. But for one man, the turbulence of that era was just the beginning of an extraordinary story.
Okay, November, 22nd November, 8:43 a.m. Supreme Court of Judicature, Defendants, Antechamber 5. I still can't believe it. Still can't believe this is happening. How could it be just beyond the doors to this quiet little chamber? It's the highest court in Japan, waiting to decide my fate. What? Oh, nothing. Save your glares, murderer. Sorry. My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I'm a second-year student at the Imperial Yumi University. 3 days ago, I somehow found myself in the middle of a horrifying incident. And now, here I am, awaiting my trial. It's enough. He's not obliged to listen to such abuse, officer. And who are you? I'm this man's lawyer. I'll be defending him today. Lawyer? Yes, and until the judge has given his verdict on the case, no one has the right to treat him like a criminal. So you will hold your tongue. Technicalities. Look at you. You haven't even graduated yet. And yet, I still seem to know better than you how a court officer should behave. Right, Ryunosuke? Oh, yes, of course. Sorry. What are you apologizing to me for? Oh, No, I suppose that wasn't my fault. But really, Kazuma, I never meant to drag you into this. I'm sorry. There you go again, apologizing. Just like always. Though I must say, you've been all over the newspapers these past few days. Yumi University professor murdered in cold blood by student. But obviously, you didn't actually do it, did you? Of course not. You have to believe me. I didn't do it. I could never murder someone. Then there's nothing to worry about. Straighten yourself up. Hold your head high. You mean... I believe you. I know you're innocent, Ryunosuke. Kazuma Azagi, my best friend. Also in his second year at Yumi University. But he's far more clever than I. A star student, in fact. He's even a qualified lawyer. Impressive considering he's still an undergraduate. It's not that impressive. The very concept of lawyers is only a few years old, here in Japan anyway. The qualifications don't mean much. Yet. I said exactly the same thing 3 days ago. Did exactly the same thing 3 days ago. But I'm proud to have a friend like you, Kazuma. Really. 3 days ago. Yes, that's when all this started. Congratulations, Kazuma. Looks like you're going to get to study abroad at last. I know. I've been forever dreaming of this day. Finally, those government elites have acknowledged my academic achievements and successes in court. So you'll be representing Japan as you immerse yourself in the most sophisticated legal system in the world. I'm really happy for you, and proud as your friend. There's not a soul in the university who doesn't know Kazuma's name. He's a living legend. It's like there's some mysterious aura billowing around his temple. I want to bring about a change in our own legal system. That's why I have to cross the ocean to see the real thing with my own eyes. The heart of the British Empire. I wish I could see it too. Then come with me. We have a wild time tearing up the streets of Her Majesty's City of London together. Or only that simple. Oh dear, look at the time. Better be going. Right, I'll see you later. I think I'll stay and enjoy this place a little while longer. Good idea. After all, it's not like every day you get to visit a high-class Western restaurant like this. See you in English class tomorrow then, partner. It was straight after that, that's when it happened. Zagi, may I have a word? Professor, I didn't know you were coming. Well, this case has personal significance to me. But never mind that for now. Zagi. Should go immediately to the judge's chambers. To His Excellency's chambers? Why? He was looking for you before. Your advocating for the defense in this trial was a sudden decision. It seems there may be some confusion about procedures today as a result. Who's this man? I feel as though I've seen him at university before. I see. I'll go at once then. I shall accompany you. Alright then, Ryunosuke. I'll see you in the courtroom. Yes, thanks, Kazuma. This is awkward. If I may. Yes, sorry? You must be the defendant. Ryunosuke Naruhado, I believe. Yes, that's right. My name is Ryujin Mikotoba. I'm a professor of forensic medicine at Yumi University. Professor Mikotoba. I've heard that name from Kazuma before. As I recall, he's been pushing to get the government to agree to Kazuma's studying abroad. Zogi has told me about you. You and he are best friends, I understand. As such, I feel you should know... Know what? Well, as you've no doubt heard, Zogi has been granted permission to go and study in Great Britain. However, if he should fail to defend you in today's trial, I'm afraid that permission will be revoked and never granted again. What? Ah, as I suspected, you were unaware of this. I had a feeling Ozagi might have chosen not to tell you. He agreed to defend me, knowing that if he fails, his dreams will be shattered? But I don't understand. Why would the government do such a thing? The administration has to choose from a large number of applicants for overseas study. It's very difficult to persuade them to grant permission, even in the most favorable of circumstances. I don't believe it. But I didn't do it, I swear it. I'm not a murderer. I'm sure that's true, nevertheless. I can assure you that proving your innocence will be no easy task. You see, there are certain peculiarities about today's trial. Sorry? What do you mean? You'll soon understand once proceeding gets underway. But then what should I do? Well, naturally, I'm not going to suggest doing anything that could lead to a conviction. Right, so... As soon as the trial starts, the judge will pose a certain question to the defense. When that happens, you must answer before anyone else. You must say, I do. I do? What will the question be? Surely not... Do you accept the accusation... Oh wait, hold up. Do you accept the accusations brought before you? Of course not. Defend it. Court is about to begin. Proceed to the courtroom at once. It seems our surreptitious discussions are to be cut short. So allow me to summarize. Kazuma Azugi must not be the defense lawyer in this trial. Of course, as a defendant, the final decision is yours. What are you waiting for? Do you want to be found guilty for failing to appear? Get moving. There's no point in anyone advocating for the likes of you anyway. This is it. If this trial goes badly, Kazuma's dream of studying abroad are over. And what's more, he'll be found guilty of murder. And so, with absolutely no idea what laid ahead, I embarked on an unforgettable trial. My one and only chance of proving my innocence. The trial that would decide my destiny. Okay, 22nd of November, 9 a.m., Supreme Court of Judicature, courtroom 2. I'm probably butchering that. So this is a courtroom. We just started, it already feels kind of, I don't know, superimposing. The Supreme Court of Judicature. No court in the land has more power. I don't much like to look at those people sitting in the public gallery. Lots of military and other uniforms in there. The powers that be have demanded this be a secret trial. A secret trial? A trial that's closed to ordinary members of the public. Only military and governmental officials may attend. But why? It'll become clear in time, but for now... You need to concentrate, Ryunosuke. It's about to begin. The court will now hear the trial of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. The prosecution is ready, Your Excellency. As is the defense. Before we begin, there's one point of order I would like to confirm. Yesterday evening, the defense made a last-minute request for a change of advocate. That's correct, Your Excellency. I made the request myself. I want procedures for the defendant's advocacy to be decided 2 days prior to trial. As this is an unusual circumstance, I am obliged to ask for final confirmation now. Who advocates for the defendant in this trial? This is it. This must be the question. Who's going to defend me? That's the question the professor meant. But then, if I say I do, I need to answer quickly. What should I do? Your Excellency, no confirmation is needed. As I'm standing right beside... What is the meaning of this unruly outburst? I'd like to inform the court that I, Ryunosuke Naruhodo, will be defending myself. You'll be... What? What are you playing at, Ryunosuke? Professor Mikotoba told me everything, just now before the trial. What? He said that your dreams of studying abroad would be dashed if you were to lose. How sad. It means you don't have faith in me. Think I won't be able to get you off? No, it's not that, really. It's just that... Well, on the off chance that things don't go well for me, I couldn't bear to be the reason that you... Yes, I knew that's how you'd feel. Which is exactly why I decided not to tell you. Professor Mikotoba shouldn't have stuck his nose in. Very well. The court hereby recognizes the defendant's desire to advocate for himself in today's trial. Well, well. Does the accused admit defeat already? Renouncing his own counsel? Really?
Objection!
Make no mistake, counsel. This merely shows the defendant's innocence is so apparent he's confident he could speak for himself. Is that not so, Naruhodo-san? Oh, yes, exactly. Exactly what I wasn't thinking. I'm not confident at all. In fact, my mind's a complete blank. I realize you're in charge now, but still, try not to look so bewildered. Well, for a mere university student to be brought before the Supreme Court, you must have perpetrated a most heinous crime indeed. As you're no doubt aware, this is the Supreme Court of Judicature of Japan. Accordingly, the highest standards of conduct are expected of all present. Do I make myself clear, Defendant Naruhodo? Yes, Your Excellency. It is therefore my duty to ascertain your competence for the task you have undertaken. My competence? What does that mean? He's questioning your ability to do the job. Well, you can't be questioning it more than I am. So let's start with the very simplest of questions. Oh, yes. Kindly state before the court the name of the victim in this case. Well, that's easy enough. I remember his name more times than I care to remember. But, wait. I'm so nervous I can't even remember that. What was it again? Ryunosuke. Let me guess. Your mind's gone blank. You know me so well. All the relevant information of this case can be found in the court record. But I can't even find that. It's simple. You can access the court record with the press of E. If you find yourself forgetting something, just consult it. It's all in there. Just have to press E for the court record. Alright, no time to lose. This is the list of evidence you've collected. Now try switching to people instead with E. You'll find details about the victim in here. When you're done, press D to go back. Okay. John H. Wilson. So remember, everything to do with the current case can be found in the court record. Now, you best not keep His Excellency waiting any longer. Go on. Find the victim in the People's section of the court record and press R to present.
Yes!
The victim's name was Dr. John H. Wilson. Well, at least you remember the name of the esteemed member of your own university. Dr. Wilson was a visiting professor from England and invited to Yumi University 3 years ago. Indeed, which is the reason why this case has such profound implications. The British Empire is at present our country's most valuable foreign ally. As for most of you who are aware, we have just signed a new treaty together after lengthy negotiations. There can't be anyone who hasn't heard about the Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation. And yet, despite these delicate circumstances, the blood of an Englishman has been spilled on our soil. You two are both undergraduates at the Imperial Yumi University, are you not? Murdering a professor from the very institution that provides your education. Have you no honor? I didn't do it. The case is coming under great scrutiny from our allies from the other side of the world. The court therefore wishes for a speedy resolution in this matter. In other words, our feeble government is scared of upsetting England's policymakers. And you're a convenient and expendable scapegoat to blame for this crime. So that's why this trial has unusual peculiarities, is it? Exactly. The government needs to convict someone as quickly as possible. All because the victim was an Englishman. Yes, Dr. Wilson was an Englishman. But nationalities and treaties won't make any difference for me here. The fact is, I was there at the scene of the crime. Oh dear, look at the time. I better be going. Alright, I'll see you later. I think I'll enjoy and stay and enjoy this place a little longer. Good idea. After all, it's not every day you get to visit a high-class Western restaurant like this. See you in English class tomorrow then, partner. The British Empire. Wow, it's incredible to think... Wait. I've seen that man at university. I'm sure he's visiting press professor from Great Britain. I don't know his name, but still, I should go and say hello. So I went over to the professor's table and introduced myself to Dr. Wilson. Now then, let me pose my next question to you, Defendant Naruhodo. Yes, Your Excellency? How did this professor of medicine, Dr. John H. Wilson, lose his life? State before the court the cause of death. The cause of death? Well, obviously that was... Ryunosuke, remember that in court, every assertion must be backed up by evidence. By evidence? But how? Find the piece of evidence that shows the professor's cause of death and present it. Do it now. Okay. So we have a post-mortem report. Death occurred a little after 2 p.m. and was caused of loss of blood from a gunshot to the chest. The bullet did not pass through the victim's body.
Yes!
Well... According to this document, the victim suffered a hemorrhagic death due to gunshot trauma? Learn to read, you imbecile. It's the post-mortem report, I take it. Sorry, yes, that's right. The post-mortem report. In the West, the doctor dissects corpses to identify the cause of death in an autopsy. But here in Japan, the police officer merely inspects the body and draws conclusions that way. I see. So I'm not going to be tested on any of this later. The so-called photographic print of the scene of the crime. You can clearly discern scorch marks around the bullet hole produced by a powder explosion. In other words, we can assume the victim was shot at close range. Thank you, counsel. Oh, damn it. Thank you, counsel. The court will accept this modern scientific evidence into the record, and in a photographic print of the victim has been entered into the court record. Got it. So this is a photographic print. That's something I've never seen before. It's clearly superior to drawing. The detail's incredible. Very well. I'm satisfied with your answers. Let's start the trial. Certainly, Your Excellency. So, without further ado, in order to better appraise the court of the facts of the case, the prosecution hereby calls its first witness, who was there at the scene of the crime when it happened. This is it, then. I think I might have worked out what the professor had in mind. The professor? Mikitobo? Yes, clearly you are a defense lawyer today, not me. But that doesn't mean... Well, I can still act as your assistant. Of course. When he was speaking with me before, he simply said, Kazumi Asagi must not be the defense lawyer in this trial. He really has been sticking his oar in, hasn't he? Maybe, but... Goddamn, I keep doing that. Maybe, but any help you can give me would be greatly appreciated, Kazuma. Well, my first piece of advice is, rein in that crazy look of bewilderment and control the cold sweats. Only if you rein in that crazy headband and control the cold stares first. Alright, let's see how this goes. Witness, state your name and occupation for the court, please. Of course. My name is Satoru Hosonaga. I'm the head waiter at the Western-styled restaurant called Le Carnaval. Are you alright? You seem to be coughing up some, It's a regular occurrence. It really doesn't bother me. Well, it really should. As everyone knows, the capital's southeastern quarter was developed for foreign visitors some years ago. It's become a very fashionable district now, full of hotels to accommodate overseas guests. This grim crime occurred in one of the district's so-called restaurants, an Occidental eatery, 3 days ago. Understood. Hosonaga-san, you will kindly tell the court everything you can about the incident. At once, sir. And no petty interjections from an inspired lawyer boy, please. Oh, perspiring maybe, but aspiring? It was just after 2 p.m. on the day in question, with a few diners at the time of day. The lunchtime rush was over, and there were only 3 tables still occupied. That fits in my memory of it, too. There was hardly anyone else in the place. Ahem. It was when I was in the kitchen, putting away crockery and cutlery. A gunshot rang out, so I hurried out to the dining area to see what had happened. I found the victim, an English gentleman, slumped out in his chair. Standing immediately beside him, gun in hand, was the accused university student.
Yes!
Hold on. Just let me clarify something here. While I did pick up the gun that I found lying on the floor beside the professor, I didn't shoot him. I believe I asked you to refrain from petty interjections. The court wishes to listen to the witness's report of what he saw, you amateur. But the next time you interrupt at an inappropriate time, you'll be penalized, defendant Naruhado. Don't worry, Ryunosuke. You'll have your chance to fight back. For now, you must quietly listen to the witnesses. If I may confirm one point, waiter, standing beside the victim with a gun in his hand was the same man you see here in court today. Yes, without question. I see. And apart from the accused, was there anyone else standing beside the victim? No. There was no one else around the table but the deceased Englishman and the university student. Huh? Wait, what did he just say? There was no one else around the table? What's the matter, Ryunosuke? That's just not right. When I went over to Dr. Wilson to say hello, there was a woman sitting opposite of him at this table. Really? That's not something the waiter could have missed. I've been warned about interjecting, but still, what should I do?
Yes!
Just a moment, please. Dr. Wilson wasn't alone that day. I'm sure of it. There was a lady sitting with him at the same table. Dear me, what are we gonna do with you? Your blatant disregard for court proceedings, I'm beginning to wonder if you're not a fraud. Could it be that the accused, this mere student, is not a real lawyer after all? I'm sure of what I saw. Kusunaga-san, is there any chance you're mistaken? Perhaps your memory of events is hazy? No. The deceased gentleman came to dine alone. I don't believe it. I actually have a rough plan of the restaurant as it was that day. Please have a look if you'd like to. Let me see. A sketch of the establishment layout drawn by yourself, I presume. That's right. I'm afraid I used the back of my business card. It was a turbulent situation. However, as you can see, the gentleman in question was seated alone. How does that prove that he was seated alone? Well, you're clearly a very conscientious waiter? Thank you, sir. The court will take this plan and add it to court record as evidence. Oh, well, is there a problem? Hand the plan to the court officer at once. Of course. Here you are. What was that about? You've been completely calm and collected until now. Something certainly seems to have shaken him. The waiter's business card has been entered into the court record. So, the court has now heard a precis of the case. Okay, I'm not exactly sure how this proves he sat alone, though. Yes, at the moment the gunshot was heard in the restaurant, the only person in close proximity to the victim was a defendant in the trial today. It would seem we were looking at a black and white case here. Defendant Naruhodo? Yes, Your Excellency. If you admit your guilt at this stage, the court is willing to look merciful upon you. In other words, you may have some small reprieve in terms of your inevitable punishment. I called this waiter as an unsworn witness in order to explain the details of the case to the court, but I must warn the defense, if you are determined to pursue matters further in this trial. The prosecution has decisive evidence from sworn witnesses who were present at the scene of the crime. What do you think I should do, Kazama? What do you mean? Well, I'm going to be found guilty one way or another, it seems. Would it be sensible to plead guilty at this stage and hope for a more lenient sentence? Everyone keeps telling me that the trial is unusual, all these peculiarities. You said it, Professor Mikotobo said it, and so has the judge in persecution. I'm scared of what lies ahead if I push this. As I said from the onset, I believe you're innocent. I trust you. And yet, despite knowing that, you're willing to now throw that trust back in my face? Is that it? What? If the accused is in fact innocent, then a defense lawyer is duty-bound to prove that innocence by whatever means necessary. Are you just going to abandon that duty? Are you going to give up on yourself? The battle hasn't even begun yet, Ryunosuke. The defense pleads not guilty, Your Excellency. We invite the prosecution to stop making empty threats and bring out its witnesses. Then we'll just see how decisive this evidence really is. Indeed. Prosecutor Ouchi, please continue with proceedings. Well, you were warned that you could be so reckless. You know, many call me a saint, but I can be a devil when I want to be. In a few short moments from now, That dumbstruck young mouth of yours be silenced forever. The prosecution calls its next witnesses. Very well. Officer, bring forth the witnesses at once. Yes, so far this isn't really going a good way for us. Witnesses, kindly state your names and occupations for the court. Yes, sir. The Great Nippon Imperial Army Sergeant Yasanoza, reporting for duty, sir. Myself, I find employed as a purveyor of fine articles of antiquity from the efflorescence of our nation, Nippon, and conduct my trade from Rusutai, a humble premise in the 2nd District. Kirio Kirikuda, at your service. An antique dealer and a soldier, an unusual pairing. Both these gentlemen were present at the restaurant on the day in question. There must be diners at the other table that the waiter mentioned. Myself, I habitually take tea of the most exquisite aroma at the establishment in question, always post-noon, and not infrequently converse with interesting parties regarding the curios of which I make my business. I can't understand a word that old man is saying. He's an antique dealer. It sounds like he's a regular at Le Carnival. He seeks out potential customers who may have an interest in antiques and tries to sell his wares to them. He obviously targets Le Carnival because it's a high-class restaurant with rich clientele. Right, I see. Although to be honest, the sergeant looks more like he'd be a seller rather than a buyer. Now, you both witnessed the precise moment of this most atrocious incident. Is that correct? Affirmative. The enemy unit has been seen attacking the foreigner and what can only be described as an act of war. Sir. It was that black uniformed rogue infantryman over there who unloaded his firearm, sir. This man's as impossible to understand as the other. But I'm almost sure I heard a strange noise during the last thing he said. So, this is decisive evidence the prosecution was threatening. The soldier is claiming that he actually saw the precise moment you shot the victim dead. Yes. Well, are you starting to feel uncomfortable? If I'm honest, I was feeling uncomfortable from the start. Now, the court will hear your formal testimony, please. You will state everything you saw at the precise moment that the incident occurred. Sir, yes, sir. Standing by ready to report, sir. Savory memories of a most acerbic afternoon. I was ingesting a regulation beefsteak at the restaurant while having a technical discussion with the old man. Myself, I was extolling the virtues of a particularly fine golden curio to the military gentleman. At that precise moment, a firearm was discharged. I observed the enemy's actions with my own eyes. The black uniformed varsity cadet fired on an English civilian. From the back, the cowardly little weasel. I was on my hands and knees investigating the whereabouts of my mysteriously absconded precious curio. Okay, so we know one of those is bullshit. Oh, so you, Sergeant Noza, actually witnessed the vital moment. You saw the split second when the defendant fired a weapon at the victim. Yes, sir. Affirmative, sir. That wicked university cadet, sir. The cruel and unforgivable enemy. What times we live in, when an English gentleman may be assailed in the broad light of day. This is ridiculous. I didn't shoot anyone. Is it really true, Ryunosuke? Yes, all I did was pick up the gun I saw lying on the floor. After I said hello to Dr. Wilson, I went back to my table and sat drinking some coffee. Then when I finished, I got up from my seat to leave the restaurant, when I noticed an English-made gun next to the chair where the professor was sitting. I thought perhaps the professor had dropped it, so I bent down, and just as I was picking it up... Well, that's the truth. There's obviously a criminal on the scene somewhere. And somewhere in these two witnesses' testimonies, there's a clue to who that criminal was. There is? Ryunosuke, you must exercise your right to cross-examine the witnesses. Cross-examine? Do it now. As we've heard, Your Excellency, there is no room for doubt in the testimonies of these witnesses. The defendant is clearly guilty. It is time to begin to bring this despicable student to justice. Certainly, the testimony the court has just heard eliminates any vestige of doubt. Therefore, it is my... What in the name of the Emperor is the meaning of this outburst? I mean the defense demands the right to cross-examination. Dear me, dear me. Let me guess. The Hachimaki headband boy next door told me to do it. How pathetic. Huh? How did he know? The prosecution objects. This is a clear waste of time. The defendant obviously has no experience. What could he possibly carry out at a cross-examination? The defense is asserting its right to cross-examination. Whether or not you think he's capable of it is irrelevant. Ryunosuke is so commanding. Very well. Let the defense conduct a cross-examination of the witnesses. Alright, this is where the battle really begins, Ryunosuke. But I don't even know what I have to do in a cross-examination. Isn't it obvious? You have to expose the lies in the witnesses' statements. How? You didn't fire the gun, which means that the soldier has to be a lie. Well, yes, but it's just a case of proving it. The key to doing that is evidence. Right, evidence. All you need to do is present some decisive and indisputable evidence that proves that the witness is lying. Now let's go, Ryunosuke. Don't let them beat you. Alright then. It's all or nothing. Okay, so we know the statement that's false. Okay, nope. Nope. So the enemy's actions with own eyes. The black uniformed varsity cadet fired on the English citizen, and from the back, the cowardly little weasel. We know that is some bullshit, because we have... Yeah, and just show that. Both could have worked, but this one actually shows the, evidence it was shot at in front. What are you playing at, cadet? What is the meaning of this insubordination? Thrusting some photographic print in my mustache? Inconsistency, sir. I mean, yes, there's a clear inconsistency here. What nonsense. What could the print possibly tell us that we didn't already know? Well, obviously, that, I know what I want to say, but the words just won't come out of my mouth. I think this proves beyond any doubt, Your Excellency, that there is no place for an amateur student here in the Grand Courtroom. This is so frustrating. Oh, please. Surely this doesn't require an explanation. It couldn't be more plain. To spell it out would be an insult to the court. Kazuma? What? What are you talking about? It's apparent from a single glance at this photographic print presented by the defense that there is a clear discrepancy here with the sergeant's statement. What? Sergeant Izanoza. Yes, sir. What, sir? The statement you just made was this. God, this fucking music. A black uniformed varsity cadet fired on the English gentleman, and from the back, the cowardly little weasel. Yes, sir. Affirmative, sir. I witnessed the crime with my own military-grade eyes, sir.
Yes!
But no, that just can't be. And why not, cadet? Because. Take a close look at the print. The victim, Dr. Wilson, died from a bullet wound to the chest. Sergeant, according to your witness statement, the culprit shot the victim from behind. And that is the obvious discrepancy here. Well, how do you explain it? What was that? Something just popped out from behind his back, but he pushed it down again. Certainly there is a clear discrepancy with the facts here. Would you not agree, Sergeant Noza? Yes, sir. At this juncture, that would appear to be indisputable. Until the moment I heard the firearm discharge, my eyes were firmly affixed to delicious Le Carnival steaks, sir. What? The last testimony the court heard was proven one thing beyond any reasonable doubt. This witness, Sergeant Iezanoza, did not see the defendant firing the gun at all. That's absurd. I think the conclusion we must draw is simple. There is no place for amateur prosecutor here in this grand courtroom. Ooh, shots fired right back at you. There's been a complete turnabout in this mood of this trial, just from one discrepancy. So this is what being an ace attorney is all about. But I definitely saw him. That university cadet there, he was pointing a firearm directly at the victim's back. But I never fired the gun. All I did was pick it up off the floor. And you, old man, you didn't see the moment the victim was shot either. Myself, I have already been quite clear. The gunshot interests me not. I was too busy on the floor. Too busy on the floor? Sorry, what were you doing? Hunting for treasure. Treasure? Indeed, the Harehara Koban, my prized coin. On each occasion when I visit the restaurant, it is my habitude to place in my bosom pocket a particular trinket of interest from my shop, Rezutai, in the hopes of meeting a rich diner who might like to buy it from you. On the day under scrutiny, it was to be a military man that I proffered my Hotai treasure. I believed that he would purchase such a rare find. I did not, but I was presented with little alternative. And then, after averting my eyes for the briefest of moments, it was there no more. It simply vanished. The Koban vanished? Hunting around at the table I was, in case mayhaps it had fallen there, and it had happened. You heard the gunshot, you mean? Indeed I did, but I heeded it not, for I was concerned only with finding my absconded Hoei treasure. Nothing could distract me. Out of interest, did you find the coin in the end? No. I see. That lamentable day, the precious Hoei Koban was lost to me. No doubt, some unscrupulous scoundrel pocketed the prized coin for himself. As I'm sure everyone present is aware, this case demands a swift and decisive resolution. Our government has promised to send a full report to Great Britain by telegraph this very afternoon. Nevertheless, the witness testimony the court has just heard was inconclusive. No matter how subservient our government feels it must be to the British, it'd be unforgivable to deliver a verdict on this trial right now. What is your position, Prosecutor Aochi? Or worry not, Your Excellency. The defendant may have had a tiger at the front gate, but he will find a wolf at the back. My witnesses has further testimony to make. Explain. Upon hearing their next statements, it will become abundantly clear that there is only one person who could have possibly committed this despicable crime. The equally despicable defendant, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. What? He really seems to have a despicable opinion of you, doesn't he? Very well. The court invites the witnesses to testify again. He will thoroughly explain the reasoning behind the persecution's allegation. Is that clear? As clear as Kirikou glass, Your Excellency. Yes, sir. At once, sir. Awaiting signal to testify, sir. Okay, so what else are they gonna throw at me? Excuse me, but there's someone peeking out over your shoulder, I think. Affirmative. The newest member of the Noza family to rise up to the ranks. Name, Ido. Seeing these straps are a sign of the sergeants being too strapped to afford a nanny. Ido, Tenshun! Your father is about to quell the enemy. Watch and learn, my boy. Okay, so let's see if we can spot it. Even if I saw what wasn't the precise moment the firearm was discharged, it was almost the same thing. Yes, pointing his gun at the four men he was, that young lad in black. That much I myself did see. Furthermore, a visual search of the premise at the time confirmed that we were the only personnel present. Indeed, alone he was, the Englishman, dining all by himself. Therefore, no one other than a black uniformed cadet could have dispatched the Englishman. Over and out.
Yes!
Testimonies are certain. Wait, that's nonsense. The victim, Dr. Wilson, wasn't alone at all. Please, enough of these outbursts already. But there was a woman. There was a young woman at his table. You must have seen her. Everyone there must have seen her.
Objection!
If you call yourself a lawyer, then you will respect the rules of the court and speak accordingly. We are not here to listen to your fantasies. It is evident beyond all reasonable doubt the victim was alone at the time of the incident. The prosecution has photographic evidence to the fact. Is this a photographic print of the scene of the crime, counsel? Indeed, of the table at which the victim was dining, taken by an investigator immediately after the incident. As you can plainly see, there is only one place set. Certainly, based on the appearance of this print, it would be reasonable to conclude the victim was not in the company of anyone else. That doesn't make any sense. The court will add this new photographic evidence to the record. I don't understand. What's going on here? It's just not possible that nobody saw that woman. The waiter before said the same thing. He maintains that Dr. Wilson came to the restaurant alone as well. That's not true. I saw her. I swear I saw a woman with him. It would seem that we will be able to telegraph the report to the Great Britain on time after all. The witness testimonies we just heard leave no further room for doubt. These are very sensible political times, as we all know. The ink is still fresh on the Treaty of Great Britain, or sensitive. To think that I, Takasuke Ouchi, have been contributed to the amenity of these two great empires is an honor. How can this be happening? The judge is ready to rule. Stand tall, Ryunosuke. It's not over yet. What? If what you say is true, then there's something going on here behind the scenes. And now is your chance to expose it, to draw out the truth in your cross-examination. I don't know, Kazuma. The defense is entitled to cross-examining the witness, but make it quick, understood? It can be so unbending at times. Okay. Let's see what else I got. I got a little bit longer. Even if what I saw wasn't the precise moment the fire was discharged, it was almost the same thing. Yes, pointing the gun at the foreign man he was, that young man in black, that much I did see for myself. Furthermore, a visual search of the premise at the time confirmed with the only personnel present.
Yes!
You must have noticed someone else at Dr. Wilson's table. There was a lady there. As you've been at pains to point out time and again, I feel like I'm growing a callus in my ear. And yet, no one else appears to have caught even a glimpse of that woman. If only there were more people dining at the time, then someone else would have noticed her. Unfortunately, it was past 2 p.m. when it happened. The quiet time between lunch and dinner in any restaurant. I know, of course the place was almost empty. It's what you'd expect. Certainly, 2 p.m. is neither here nor there in terms of time to eat. I wonder if there was a reason the victim was eating at the time of day, and why he was alone. Yes, Your Excellency, there was indeed a reason. There was? We found this in the victim's jacket pocket. What is that, Counsel? It's a medical report card, Your Excellency. It would seem the victim had an appointment at a clinic prior to visiting the restaurant. Had a clinic? Yes, there would appear to be an entry of the date in question. 19th November, noon to past 1 p.m. The very day of the incident. So the victim was late for a late lunch following his appointment. The explanation couldn't be more simple. The prosecution felt no need to submit this evidence before, as it was really no bearing on the case. I wonder... What do you think, Ryunosuke? Well, it's hard to see how it could be related, really. Remember, you will request for it to be entered in the court record as evidence if you think it could be useful. Should I ask for Dr. Wilson's medical report card to be submitted as evidence or not?
Yes!
Anything can help, right? If I may, I'd like to ask for the medical report card to be submitted as evidence, Your Excellency. On what grounds? The court has already heard conclusive witness testimony. Additional evidence would be extraneous. Not to mention the victim's movements prior to his arrival at the restaurant are of no concern. Whether or not they are of concern are for us to decide. We have a right to explore all possible avenues. I beg your pardon? You have no authority to refuse a perfectly valid request for the submission of evidence. Very well. The court will grant the defense's request. Youngsters these days are forever asserting their rights. It's the most disturbing trend. Officer, kindly add the victim's medical report card to the court record. We need right now is new clues. We have to explore things from every possible angle, even if they don't seem relevant at first. Right, I hear you. You can conspire to prolong this trial as much as you like, but it's the day after the festival's already for you. Or perhaps you'd forgotten. God damn it, I keep doing it. You can conspire to prolong this trial as much as you like, but it's the day after the festival already for you. Or perhaps you'd forgotten that these witnesses' testimonies leave no room for doubt. Feel free to reiterate for the accused, Kirakuda-san. Okay, so we need to look at our evidence that we just got. How do I pull it up again?
Yes!
So you actually saw that with your own eyes, did you? The victim, Dr. Wilson, dining alone? That I did. Forgive me for the position I placed you in. So the testimonies of the old man, the scholar, and the waiter all agree on this point. Isn't it interesting? Let's not forget the incontestable evidence we have to support your statements as well. As you can clearly be seen, there's only one single beef steak at this victim's table, a meal for one. No. Antiques dealer, the sergeant, and the waiter who testified before. It's not impossible that they're all lying. But if so, then why? If I'm perfectly honest, I have absolutely no idea.
Yes!
Aren't you telling the truth? What? Did you say, cadet? I clearly remember. There was a woman sitting across the table from the professor. Perhaps one of you might have noticed. But for both of you to fail to see the professor's dining companion, it's just not possible. Unfortunately for you, Defendant Naruhodo, it's not just a case of those two witnesses alone. Sorry? The waiter, whose testimony the court heard earlier, clearly stated the same thing. He also said the victim was alone. That's right. Is there no way to look at this? You are the sole proponent of this phantom lady. But if such a woman was indeed present at the scene, the prosecution demanded to see proof. And if no such proof exists, the prosecution demands no further mention of this phantom woman be made. It's a blatant waste of the court's time. There's something I could say to that. Excellent work, Ryunosuke. You've gleaned some new information now. Well, yes, but I don't feel it changes much. I can't see that it brings any real discrepancies to light. I wouldn't be so sure. See that medical report card you got before? Oh, you mean this? Yes. This is a brand new piece of evidence, so perhaps we should examine it in a bit more detail. How exactly? You notice that some pieces of evidence bear a magnifying glass. Here are the ones you may examine. Press space and you can take a closer look at the piece in question. Use the arrow keys to rotate the evidence in all directions and examine it from all angles. By using WASD, can move the crosshairs around to hunt for clues that may have missed before. If your crosshairs start to pulsate, press space to investigate further. So, partner, I think you should take a closer look at this medical report card. See if there is something new to be learned by examining in more detail. Alright, see what I can do. Okay, so I need to wait for the tutorial. It says Hoda Clinic on this report card. I hate clinics almost as much as I hate hospitals and surgeries. Aren't they all the same? When I was 5, I caught the only cold I ever had in my life. And I remember, even though I felt awful already, I had had this hideous injection in my right arm. I'll never forget it. Most people would give their right arm to have only one cold in their whole life. Anyway, I think this clinic where they treat people for illnesses like that. Let's keep looking for clues. We won't want to miss anything. Let's have a look. Some kind of medical history. Ah, there's an entry for the day the professor was killed. Extraction of molar with topical anesthesia. Extraction of molar? You mean he had a tooth taken out? It seems so. Just before the incident, he had a bad tooth removed. Perhaps he used laughing gas. It's the most modern practice in the West for pain relief. Yes, I've heard of this anesthesia. Although it's hard to believe that there's any that could actually stop you from feeling pain. There's a cautionary note from the medical practitioner as well. Strictly no food or drink besides water for 3 hours post-procedure, until anesthetic effects wears off. Really? Sounds like information worth bearing in mind. With this new information, the meaning of one particular statement totally changes. So I think it's time we listen to the testimony again, don't you? Definitely. Okay, so if we know he can't eat, even if I saw it wasn't the precise moment the firearm was discharged. Okay. Furthermore, a visual search of the premise confirmed that the only personnel present. Okay. We know that can be bullshit because he's not supposed to be eating.
Yes!
Well, I think, what are you weltering, lad? Calling yourself a lawyer? I wish I could be first and foremost here. I'm the accused. Ryunosuke, everyone stumbles on their words occasionally. Under the circumstances, I wouldn't worry about it. Thanks, Kazuma. I could see it quite clear that cross-examination you just carried out. When you raised your hand straight up like that, so purposefully, you knew exactly what it is you wanted to say. Don't feel like you have to choose your words carefully. Just say what you're thinking. Alright, and thanks for the advice. Karikuta-san, this is a medical report card belonging to the victim. I see, and I don't see. What of it, boy? Comparing what is written on the report card of your witness statement. Something alleged clearly doesn't add up. Dear me. Have you forgotten my words so soon, you amateur? Sorry, what? You are not to interrupt court proceedings with your amateurish drivel. But let's see if I can explain the words you might understand. It was after 2 p.m. and the visit when the victim was murdered at the restaurant. Whatever he may or may have not done before that time is completely irrelevant. But that's... Remember, Ryunosuke, you don't have to use clever language or fancy words. Just make your point. Your Excellency, I believe we're finished here. There's surely no need to prolong this trial further. The witness testimonies in the court have been clear and concise. This medical report card has no bearing on the matter at all, for the simple reason that there was no one else besides the pale-faced pupil who could have possibly perpetrated the crime. This medical report card has nothing to do with the case? Do you really believe that? What? That outburst half petrified me, boy. Of course I believe it. How could it possibly be relevant? Perhaps because Hoda Clinic, which issued the report card, is a dental clinic. A dental clinic? Was it supposed to mean something to me? Perhaps if I told you that the victim had just had a tooth extracted. What's this now? And furthermore, if I told you that as a result, the victim had been forbidden from eating. What are you trying to say, Cadet? He had orders not to eat? So what? It's all written up in here. No food or drink other than water for 3 hours post-procedure while anesthesia wears off. What? No, that can't be. Karakuda-san. What, boy? What? As you just heard, when he was killed, sometime shortly after 2 p.m., the victim could not have been eating anything at all. No. Additionally, there's more. You have assured the court with unwavering self-confidence that the victim was dining alone. But that cannot possibly be the case. Because the victim, as we now know, had just had one of his teeth extracted and was still experiencing the effects of anesthesia, of the anesthetic. Expertly done, partner.
Objection!
What is this nonsense, you little upstart? These are baseless accusations. Just look at the photographic evidence. You can clearly see the plate of food at the victim's table.
Objection!
Use your head. That's the very discrepancy we're talking about. Can't you follow the logic? How dare you? I think it's fair to say that the tables in this restaurant case have turned. Wouldn't you agree, Ryunosuke? Yes, most definitely. So having just undergone some dental surgery, the victim was unable to eat. Which leaves one very crucial conundrum. Who, in fact, was eating the pictured beef steak? The court will hear the opinion of the defense on this new puzzle. I assume you're ready, counsel? Counsel? That means me, doesn't it? Alright, the answer to this question is going to be pivotal. There is a start of your turning this trial around. Show them what you're made of. Got it. So, the person eating the steak at the victim's table must have been the victim himself, well, we know that's out, me, the other two parties, and the as of yet unknown third party. Obviously, it can only have been someone else who had been sitting at the professor's table.
Objection!
You will not let this go, will you? There was no such person. There was, because I saw her. When the incident occurred, we know that the victim couldn't have been eating anything, yet we have evidence of a half-eaten steak on his table. Therefore, the only logical conclusion is that there was somebody else eating it. We have strong evidence to support our assertion. It's clear these witness testimonies are unreliable. If the court decides to push through a ruling at this stage, we will lodge a formal complaint with the Ministry of Justice to pursue a retrial, relentlessly. Kazuma? Are you insane? You would take on the government? Don't worry, counsel. I have no issue with you. What do you mean? I have an issue with them. Those two witnesses in the stand. What? What are you talking about? We have demonstrated with evidence that the victim was not alone. So, if it now turns out the two of you deliberately lied while giving your testimonies, obviously you'll be charged with perjury. Perjury? And, since this is a murder trial, you'll also be deemed complicit in the killing. Complicit? In murder? Negative. There's no mention of this at the technical meeting. I was just following orders. That's right, as the man says. Just say you never saw the gentlewoman. That's what they had told us. Oh. What? What is on? Telling the truth. Absolutely not. The prosecution knows nothing of this. We're the only one who can't slam down. Then who's behind us? Who tried to keep making you keep your mouth shut? Well, that's classified. So you're prepared to be tried as a conspirator to this murder, are you? You wouldn't. This can't be happening. Ryunosuke, judging from the way that they're reacting to this, I'd say they were sworn to silence of someone of considerable influence. However, I don't believe Aochi had any idea about it. What are you saying? I mean, to wield that kind of influence, there are only a handful of possibilities. It could have only been the government, the military, or the police, I suppose. Well, any idea who might be behind this? We can confirm who tried to silence these witnesses, and we continue our pursuit. So we need to name whoever it was that tried to make the witness keep their mouth shut. Of course, we need evidence before we make any firm accusations. Evidence that proves whoever it was really did wield his or her power here. But how? How could we possibly... Remember how we made progress before? We examined the piece of evidence in more detail and found a new clue as a result. Yes, that's right. Well, that's not the only piece of evidence we have, is it? We need to re-examine everything and make sure there's nothing we've missed. There's no time to lose. I want answers. It's proven that witnesses have been manipulated. I assure you the penalty will be severe. Please, wait, Your Excellency. I had no idea about any of this. I swear to every Shinto god. I knew nothing. And what does the defense have to say about all this? Well, Your Excellency, no time to think. I'm just gonna have to close my eyes and shout the first name that comes to my mind. Besides the persecution, the only person with considerable evidence, necessary influence to manipulate the witnesses is...